like awesome Knight of the Kingsguard. Like one of the the coolest knights that there is in the Kingsguard.
The best of the best knights of the Kingsguard.
Fucking chump. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. Reading a Star Wars Heart. As always, I'm your host Zach, sitting here in a green hoodie today. My brother Nate.
I had to look down and confirm.
I know
I was
you
wearing
did.
A green
He
hoodie.
was unsure.
What up, listeners? It's Sunday for us.
Sunday.
A loungy Sunday.
Yeah, this episode's coming out a little bit late because Natey do had some dental work done and was recuperating from that. So
Prove it.
I mean, I'm not going to prove it, but that's what occurred. That's what happened.
If you've joined us before, you know that we are full spoiler. I know, I'm going to cut you off with our spiel. And you should stop now if you don't want to be spoiled. You should go back and listen and read and do all that good stuff, then come back. But otherwise, this episode we'll be reading Dany, 4? 3?
Do you not have it marked? Why are you looking
I
at my
just have Dany, because I
Oh
don't
my
have it marked.
goodness. Yeah,
no.
Dany 4.
Yeah.
Dany 4 and A Storm of Swords. But if you had joined us last episode we were reading John 5.
Yeah.
John was a continuation of the Bran chapter before that, where they had arrived at Queen's Crown. These two different groups of Bran, Meera, Jojen, Hodor, and Jon Snow, the wildlings in Ygritte, colliding at Queen's Crown. As we know, Jon was being instructed to kill an innocent man of the North who had simply built a fire, as the wildlings wanted no one to be capable of raising the alarm and warning Castle Black of the incoming assault from the south. So Jon was ordered to do it. He obviously struggled with killing just a man for no reason. The man who passes the sentence should look the man in the eyes who swings the sword. Couldn't do it, which revealed him as a crow. Ygritte, unfortunately, did the deed for him, and then hell broke loose as a direwolf started running amok. Hey, Bran, sup? Jon was able to escape, taking an arrow to the back of the thigh, and he set off for home, north, following the stars. But, as you said, we're with Dany. This is Dany 4. Dany 3, Dany is making her way through Essos.
Yeah.
Gathering up the Unsullied, as she had stopped in Astapor.
It was so long ago.
Met with the slavers, met Missandei, the young translator, and made a deal with the slavers of a dragon for a bunch of Unsullied. Dany fools everyone, including first-time readers, including me, that she's actually going to make this deal, and then only at the last minute does she fucking torch
Burn, baby, burn.
these goddamn slavers alive, ordering the now Dany-owned Unsullied to strike the chains off of every slave and kill all the masters.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
She then throws down the whip, proclaiming the Unsullied, the Dothraki, the Unsullied freedmen, and that if they wish to follow her, she would gladly accept them, but anyone who wants to leave is free, and of course they all willingly start kind of chanting and cheering for Daenerys. So Dany has an army.
Wait, that chapter ended with people chanting and cheering?
Yeah, it's a theme here. Huh. So Dany 4... Dany and Sir Perv are on a sandstone ridge looking at the Yunkish host that is athwart her path. And now to make this clear, because for my first read through, I was always confused about this. Dany is not at a fucking city here.
Right.
Like, and the show is very much so different. This scene, this meeting, Daario Naharis, all this occurs.
She's not at the city
This
yet.
occurs in Yunkai,
right.
Whereas she's on the road. She's still about a couple miles away from Yunkai. This is a host
Meeting
set before the city,
right.
to meet her and thwart her.
And so Barry the Bold has taught her how to count
Barry the chump.
Men in big numbers, and so she's able to just and count them all off for Jorah.
Yeah, 5,000 sellswords, lances, bowmen, swords, and axes. Second sons on the left, storm crows on the right, and about 500 men to each one of those units.
Really awesome is that because she lays out a fucking sick ass plan later on in the chapter about who's gonna attack where, why. She's planning that out now.
She's setting it up now.
She is looking at this and looking for the weaknesses and where they're laid out.
But she's just a young girl.
She's just a naive young girl.
Yeah, dude.
Fuck me. This is so well written by George to have her just sitting right here strategizing. It shows that she is calculating on those levels of Tywin and, dare I say it, Robb Stark, where they're pulling these...
The young wolf.
Like,
she's the young little queen.
These
yeah.
tight-ass
She's the young
maneuvers.
dragon right
She's
now.
killing it.
The Yunkai hold the center, and their entire army is basically made up of slave soldiers, more so bed slaves.
Right.
The Yunkai are not known for training unsullied like soldiers. They're known for training slaves in the arts of pleasure houses and sexual acts. These people have probably not really held a spear very long. So what Dany is saying here is we've got two very strong sellsword companies on the right, 500 men apiece.
And the left.
And the left. And then we've got in the center, where it's weakest, these bed slaves who are going to be fighting for the Yunkai, which, read between the lines here, they are being coerced into fighting for the Yunkai. They're being told to because they are slaves.
Right.
And so Dany immediately is making note of that as well.
She also notices who's mounted among all of these troops and how much more difficult they will be to deal with. Because Jorah says that they can easily defeat this group. It won't be bloodless.
Yeah, not bloodlessly. It will be a high cost to take the city because she knows what mounted... She spent a lot of time with the Dothraki. She knows what mounted horsed men can do to foot soldiers.
Right.
They cut through them, and that's what a majority of her host will be, is these foot soldiers.
Yeah. So she commands that Jorah sends word to the leaders of each of the three groups, the Stormcrows, the Yunkai, and the... which one did I miss?
That's it.
No, the Second Sons, sorry. And she wants to see them all...
But not together.
Individually.
Scatter the meetings.
Throughout the day.
And again, this is more a part of her plan, that you scatter these meetings, they don't all know what's discussed.
This is very much used in even police investigations where they,
correlate stories.
Right.
No one knows what's being talked about, who's flipping. It's right. So Dany is certain that they'll come, if not to see the dragons, then to at least gauge her strength and see what they'll be going up against. And so she rides back to her camp, to her pavilion. The Unsullied are setting up the fortifications
take my dragons down the old town road.
I hate you. Her silver would have been take my silver down the old...
Well, I didn't want to completely rip it off.
Well, you should have. And the Unsullied, are setting up fortifications because they just can't have a camp that isn't fortified, because that's what they do. Grey Worm is overseeing, and Dany stops for a little chat quick. And this is when we get that, when Dany had told the Unsullied to pick commanders among their own ranks.
So because of this, I just want to point out how well George, even though it's been fucking forever since we've had a Dany chapter, how much we've even grown with this group. It's just so, maybe it's just because we're rereaders, but how natural and comfortable it is to just be chilling here with Grey Worm. It's like, of course she's going to stop and chat with Grey Worm. It's fucking Grey Worm.
Grey Worm was overwhelmingly chosen by the Unsullied to be of the highest rank of command in the Unsullied. So Sir Perv had been training him for command, how to actually lead men, give orders, that type of thing.
Right, because he himself, of course, was a slave before this. Right. He didn't know how to give commands.
And Sir Perv has said that he's hard but fair and quick to learn. So Grey Worm's doing great. She had also abolished the Unsullied tradition of drawing a new name each day, as that's ridiculous,
right,
and told them all to take whatever names they chose. So some chose old fabled songs, some chose legends, swords, and weird things. Grey Worm is a homie, and kept Grey Worm.
Because it was the day that he was freed from slavery by Daenerys, so it's a lucky name.
Hey. Dany tells him that when battle is joined, to spare any slave that runs or throws down their weapon, and he's like, this one will remember, and she's like, I know you will, and then tells him that I want you at my tent at midday when I'm meeting with my other commanders.
I want you there with my advisors.
Right, to meet with these fuckers.
You're top of the line now.
Right.
I just wanted to point out that that's another one of those instances where luck is very prominent, is with his name. We see it a lot with Davos and rubbing gargoyles and just the, seafarer's luck. And so I just wonder if that's going to...
Do you ever think it's going to be on a banner? Because I just feel like the Grey Worm is such a banner-sounding thing, like a Westeros heraldry, that one day when Dany's in Westeros, that Grey Worm,
The Grey
it
Worm
becomes
on a
House
grass
Grey
field,
Worm,
yeah.
type of thing. And I could even see
I
it
hope so.
being
Grey Worm would be a
combined,
sick
you know,
house.
like where it becomes like Grey WYRM, like
Right,
as
right,
the
right.
house, and like that's a new established house. But I just keep thinking that, like, man, a Grey Worm sounds like the start of describing
Right.
a
banner, a
heraldic
sigil.
banner, yeah. And so Dany then rides through all the craziness of tents toward her pavilion, and then notes the second camp that is set up beyond her own, 5 times the size, and they're just hordes of women, children, and old men.
Yeah.
Astapor had been left with a council of former slaves led by a healer, a scholar, and a priest, all good men in their own right. Yet even so, tens of thousands still preferred to follow her. Now,
They're not going to go.
Right,
it's not
full
going
spoiler reread, this council dissolves pretty fucking quickly. The city gets taken back by slavers, and everyone's re-enslaved, so that's not going to go too well. But Dany notes here, I gave them the city, and most of them were too frightened to take it.
They were the smart ones, technically, because they would be there enslaved.
See, that to me also seems a little
Very,
portendy
yeah.
of, like, King's Landing, of, like, I gave them the city and they didn't want to take it, so now I've got to
Right,
take it
now
for
I
them
have to-
type of
right.
thing. But the raging host, or the ragtag host of freedmen was more burden than benefit. Only 1 in 10 are strong enough to fight, and none of them are trained. And they ate the land bare as they passed.
Like locusts.
In sandals.
Yeah. Jorah says to abandon them.
And her blood riders.
And, right. And she says that she set them free. She can't now tell them that they're not free to join her.
Yeah.
And you can still say, hey, you're on your own. Like, I get that I freed you to choose your life, but I can't. I got to go. I mean, she's
knowing the end of this chapter, though, she can't.
Right.
Like, these
She
people
can't.
are under her protection. She's not wrong. This is what a queen is supposed to do,
Right,
though.
right.
She's saying, no, give me you're sick, you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry, you're weak, and I will care for them. And yes, in wartime, that's not a good fucking situation to be in, but she still can't turn them away.
Now that I threw out that random nonsense, this is Mance Raider.
Right, this is, yeah.
Because Mance has a group that's strong in warfare. He has a size 10 times that.
She doesn't have his ability to unite, though.
Right.
Yet.
Right. she's
Because
working on
it's still, even up into Dance, I almost said wins, up until Dance, it's still very much, these factions are separate factions under Daenerys.
Right.
And it's not one unified, we're the free folk, we're the wildlings. Yes, I know there's the Thens and such, but everyone fucking hates the Thens. So
But
it's unified under Mance. Dany's got to do a little bit more of that, and that's what she's struggling with in Marine,
Right.
with the Harpies and all that. And that's, I think, sort of what she's hinting at here, is that there is a sense of responsibility for these people. You can't upend social order and then just be like, fuck it, you're on your own.
Bye.
All these people knew was enslavement. So, like, it's a different form of cruelty to say you're free, okay, bye? Like, they may not know how to fend for themselves or care for themselves, or so it's this sense of responsibility. I freed them. Like, I need to look after them. I can't just send them out into the fucking red wastes like I did, and to die and
Right.
starve and dehydrate to death. But Whitebeard
And Belwas
are sitting outside her pavilion. On march, they were her guard. Since Joho, Ago, and Rakaro were made her Kos, as well as her blood riders, she needs them to command her Dothraki.
Belwas is sitting down eating a bowl of figs.
Oh, Belwas. He gets poisoned. And, yeah, she thinks that her Khalasar is tiny. Braidless boys and old bent-back men. But they're Dothraki. So inside, she asks Missandei what language these slavers are going to be speaking, and it is a bastardized form of High Valyrian, so Dany will be able to get the gist of it.
Right.
And
they're called the Wise Masters.
yeah, Dany says we'll see how wise they are come this meeting.
Right, which comes. I mean, basically
An hour
she
later,
kinda
yeah.
waste some time killing.
Sir Perv returns with the 3 captains of the Storm Crows, and Dany makes sure to study them as Missandei pours them all wine. There's Prendal, which
Prendal Nagajin. or Gajan?
The Prindle, Mr. Mosby.
He's a thick-set Giscari.
Would you like M or I just think of the Prindle. The PRNDL.
There's also Salar the Bald. He's a Carthene with, what do I have there?
Who fucking cares? He's dead in a page anyway. Brr, 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 air horns.
True story.
Dario Naharis swaggers into this fucking tent. And
Twisted Scar. I figured out what I wrote
Gotcha.
there.
Gets like 3 paragraphs of description compared to the sentence for the other 2. So clearly George is saying, hey, not only is Dany taking notice of this guy, we should be as well. Because
I feel, and maybe it's just me and people are going to fucking murder me for this because I get shit on a lot for stuff I randomly spew out, but he makes me think of Martin's version of a musketeer. He's just so out there and flamboyant with his killing. He's got a code, but it's just this... I love Dario.
Yeah, Captain Jack ain't got shit on Dario.
Sick-ass mustache, and he's just...
So Prindle ends up speaking for them and tells Dany that she will find no easy conquest here. And Dany's like, 500 Stormcrows, 10,000 Unsullied. And I wrote the quote, I am only a young girl and do not understand the ways of war, yet these odds seem poor to me. And they're like, we do not stand alone, the Stormcrows. And she says, yeah, well, sellswords are notoriously unfaithful, so what's going to happen when the Second Sons switch side and you're getting attacked from the rear?
Oof.
And they're like, that will never happen, which, let's skirt right here. The Second Sons, what happens when the Second Sons, I'll say it again, what happens when the Second Sons switch sides on you? Well, as we leave things in Dance of Dragons, a certain Tyrion Lannister is speaking with a brown Ben Plum, who, 1, has already betrayed Dany, so, lols, and 2, is talking about now switching back to Dany's side.
I've been loyal ever since the beginning. It was all a ploy.
So, just absolutely beautiful foreshadowing there on George's part that I had to point out because it's literally what the Second Sons will be doing for the rest of this series, is being notoriously unfaithful. But I wanted to read this next little bit here as it goes on to say, Woman, you bray like an ass and make no more sense. Woman, she chuckled, is that meant to insult me? I would return the slap if I took you for a man. Dany met his stare. I am Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, the unburnt, mother of dragons, Khaleesi to Drogo's riders, and queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Like, I'd return the slap if I took you for a man. Like, my girl. Fucking get it. Fuck you, Prindle.
That was a slap.
Would you like am or Prindle? But... Well, I lost my page. There it is. He insults the shit out of Dany.
Yeah.
And Belwas offers to cut out his tongue and give it to the little queen. And Dany's like, no, I promised him safe conduct, but...
And so she asks, are you free men? Great. Then give this message to all your men and let them choose for themselves, because you're clearly a fucking moron.
Yeah, it may be that some would sooner sup on gold and glory than on death. And I'll want your answer on the morrow. And Prindle says, the answer is no. But Dany's like, okay, yeah. But as they exit, Dario sliding in the DM, and he's like, yo, girl, you gonna be up or later? Like, I'll hit you up later? All right.
Cool.
And he slips out.
Did you notice that his fingernails are blue?
Yep.
Do you think that it's anything, do you think he's inspired? He saw that color on anybody? He was like, I like that color. I'm gonna put it, like, doesn't Euron have dark fingernails?
I mean, Euron, like, everything about him is, like, even his lips are fucking blue. Right. So, like, no, I think he's...
just awesome and wonderful.
Accessorizing,
like
yeah. And so, 2 hours later, the commander of the Second Sons arrived, alone.
Miro!
A towering Bravosi named Mero calls himself the Titans' Bastards. They, of course, exchange insults. He's pretty sure he's fucked her or her twin in a brothel before, and Dany's like, I'm sure I'd remember.
So, but she starts giving it back to him with the flirting.
Yeah, a little bit.
And it starts to make me think of a certain Mercy chapter.
Stop it.
Just the way that she's controlling the conversation where she's using it like, well, maybe, you know, if you were to show up,
this
who
also
knows?
because she again delivers the line that it is true, I'm only a young girl and do not know the ways of war, and it brings up the 10,000 versus 500 again. This is also reminiscent of course, as I like to call it, Tyrion's hat trick.
I was just gonna ask you about that.
The hat trick, yeah, it's playing 3 different political players against each other and seeing which one is gonna fucking send the shit out the chute. Like, that's all this is, and it's brilliantly played. It's brilliantly done. That because she's playing into what they expect,
right?
And so she's gauging them. Yeah, Marrow's extremely sexual. Like, he just wants to fucking fight. She plays into that. Like, yeah, I'm a young, pretty girl, right? And gives him the wine, gives him all this shit. But
they're expecting to see a dumb, naive, stupid little girl who has dragons, and that's it. And so when she comes at them so ruthlessly and savagely, as we know, in the middle of the night instead of it's completely unexpected because they would have never considered that she would go and fucking wreck their damn lives in the evening.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah, the 10,000 versus 500 gets brought up, and he says the second sons have faced worse odds and won, and she says the second sons have faced worse odds and run.
Suck it!
We all know what happened, so, like, chill your shit. And she says, but instead stay and fight for me, and I will give you much and more than whatever the Yunkai gave you, because he says, I already swore an oath and took gold, and she wants, I'll whatever Cersei will pay you, I'll double it. And she says, think on what I said. Can I have your answer on the morrow? And he says, can I have some of this wine to bring back to my captains?
I gave you a whole fucking wagon of the shit.
And yeah, she's like, yeah, we took it from Astapor, motherfucker. Like, we can't drink it. I'll take it. So she gives him a wagon full, so long as he toasts to her health. And he says he will 3 times, which Dany in these 3s. And Whitebeard then, after he leaves, says that Marrow has an evil reputation even in Westeros.
And Jorah completely agrees.
He's like, yeah, the old man's right for once. But
he's upset.
Whitebeard says he'll toast you in one breath and then in the second turn around and rape you. And he says it just as bluntly as that, which Dany clearly doesn't need to be fucking told.
Right.
Like, she's got the grasp on these guys.
Which is a big reason why Jorah's trying to push her away from him.
Of course. The second sons have turned near as bad as the brave companions, Sir Perv says, which just, even in Essos, we're getting the brave companions. But Dany says she only wants his men and asks if there's any hope of the Stormcrows actually coming over.
Nope, none.
None.
And Prendle's a piece of shit, so you're not going to get the second sons either.
Yeah, he's Giscari by blood. Prindle's Giscari by blood, so he probably had kin in Astapor that you killed. So he's definitely not. And Dany says, well, we'll have to wait and hear what the Yunkai say.
And the Yunkish arrive. And they are led by Grosden Noaraz. Who's whatever.
Not no.
No. Fuck no.
And he says that she is wise to sit and speak.
He brought 50 people with him in his little fucking
convoy. Of course.
convoy.
Yeah, he was, being carried by slaves and shit. And tells her again that she'll find no easy conquest here. He says that they will re-enslave anyone who survives after the battle and then use them to retake Astapor. Perhaps even make a slave of Dany as well, because there's a lot of people that would pay well to bed the last Targaryen. And she's like, well,
my boys are jonesing for a fight. Like, bring it.
And she says, I'm glad you know who I am as well, like with the Targaryen. And he says, I make it my business to keep tabs on the savage West, but their customs don't interest me. But he then says, why must we speak so harshly to one another? Your quarrel isn't with us, so why squander your strength on our walls when you'll need every man you can to retake your father's throne in Westeros? And Yunkai wishes you nothing but good luck in this endeavor, and to prove it, I've brought you a gift. And the slaves bring up a chest with 50,000 gold pieces in it, newly minted. Dany takes it and inspects it. And
she's like, yo, these are nice. How many of these chests full of this gold do you got inside your buildings?
How much you got in that city?
Because those are the ones that I'll be taking, thank you.
But
I have a gift for you as well.
And I like it because she closes the lid at this point. Like, she slams the all that glitters is not gold type of scenario here, where, like, you're not going to just dazzle her with a chest full of gold. Like, she's not that dumb.
Right. And so she says that she is gifting them 3 days to free every slave inside of Yunkai and give them basically their dues from their masters and then open their gates so that anybody who wishes can walk freely out of that city. Yep. What a nice person.
He says she's mad, and she shrugs and says, am I? Dracarys. And Drogon lights his fucking Tokar on fire. Whitebeard, Barry tosses some water on him to put it out, and he's like, you promised me safe conduct. And she's like, do you all bitch about a singed Tokar like this? Because that's ridiculous. and like, all right, Danny. Yeah. And he tells her, you will rue this arrogance, whore. These lizards will not keep you safe. If they come within a league of Yunkai, we will fill the sky with arrows. Do you think it's so hard to kill a dragon? Easier than to kill a slaver. Harder than to kill a slaver.
You almost had it backwards there.
3 days, Grasden. Full dark had fallen by the time all the Yunkai make their way out of her camp. And Dany thinks that it's a fine black night and looks at all the campfires burning around her. Which, again, this is her thinking, oh yeah, they'll be good and night blind by the amount of cook fires and campfires, and it's a nice dark night.
So they'll think that we're all up here just campfiring and cooking.
So she tells Sir Perv to summon her blood riders, and when they summon, she tells them that they will attack an hour past midnight.
And they're like, wait, what?
The Stormcrows will be busy arguing about my offer. The second son's drunk on the wine I gave Marrow, and the Yunkai believe they have 3 days. We will take them by cover of darkness. And Jogo's like, well, they're like, oh, they'll have scouts out. And Jogo's like, I'll take care of scouts.
Don't worry about those scouts.
And she's like, just so. Like, yes, you fucking will, Jogo. I know you will.
Do it.
And, yeah, she wants a 3-pronged attack. The Unsullied will take on the left and right. The Coes will lead her horse in a wedge for a thrust down the center. And then she smiled. But to be sure, I'm only a young girl and know little of war. What do you think, my lords? And Sir Perv says she's Rhaegar's sister, and Whitebeard agrees, and a queen as well. So yeah, again, Astapor, and then here on the road to Yunkai. Like, she's just showing these advisors what's what. Shut the fuck up, old men, and sit down.
And so she has preparations begin so that they can start for war.
She's super nervous. She's a fucking high-strung wire, just... Man, I hope they don't notice anything sketchy going on in the dark.
When she is told that there is a man from the second son sneaking onto the
He claims he has gifts, and Sir Perv describes him as the yellow fool with blue hair, which she's like, Dario? Ooh. That one? I'll see him. And so when he's brought to her, he tells her that the Stormcrows are hers, and so is Dario Naharis. And she's like, what do Prendel and Salar have to say of this? And he says, little, and upends the bag, which has their heads, which is revealed as the gift. And the dragons immediately have at it, just fucking toasting those shits and rotting them. And Dany's a little queasy by this, which I think is interesting, and asks him why he would do that. And he says, because you are beautiful, and those guys basically sucked. And then he goes off on his... I don't count a day lived unless I've fought, and had a good meal. Yeah. And Dany just likes his swagger of this one. She's like, all right, I'm vibing with.
So we also get to see him next to Jorah.
The comparison.
Oof.
Venn diagrammed. Everything he is, Jorah is not. He's skinny where Jorah is bulky. He's hairless where Jorah is fucking bear-like.
But he has long flowing locks where Jorah's thinning, and then he's got this confidence that just...
And his nose and sort of the facial structure of his face almost makes her think of some sort of bird of paradise. And that's a peacock is very much so, I think, what I think of when I think of Dario. And
he's pretty amazing.
But she tells him to draw his sword and kneel and swear to her service. And he does so, of course, outrageously because it's Dario. And she tells him to rise and fight for her this night. And Sir Perv's like, oh, Khaleesi, that's not a good idea.
Shut the fuck up.
And he's like, if he betrays us, surprise is lost. And she's like, yeah, I think the two heads there kind of prove his sincerity. And then she looks at Dario, and he smiles at her, and she flushes. And she's like, yeah, have your Stormcrows ready to strike at the rear. And Dario's like, hey, okay, I'll dip. And if they find me, I'll tell them I didn't see shit. So, see you later. And Sir Perv goes in about how much older and wiser he is than pretty little Dany.
He's a wise master here.
And he wakes the dragon. Finally.
Yo, she fucking loses it on him.
So you are the only man I should ever trust, Sir Jorah? I didn't say that, he said, stiffening. You're a good friend, first of my Queen's Guard, commander of my army, my most valued counselor. I honor and respect and cherish you, but I do not desire you, Jorah Mormont, and I'm tired of you pushing away everyone, so I must needs rely on you alone. She should have hit him.
Exclamation point.
She should have hit him.
We don't always need to resort to violence.
Fuck him.
Whoa.
She tells him, go see your Unsullied, sir. You have a battle to win. And he leaves.
And she goes to her dragon.
And she feels a little alone here. And she's like, shit, what if he was right about Dario? I hope not. He'll forgive me for being stern. And then she thinks of Mirri Maz Duur's words and tells her dragons that they're her children. And then her Drogon play. And this is fucking adorable. She's rolling him around like a big old fat cat.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Like, are you kidding me?
He needs a ball of string.
She's rolling him around. It's fucking so cool. So, and then her watch begins.
The waiting is the worst. And I thought of Sansa and Cersei here.
I mean, it's every character.
Yeah,
at a certain point or another. Yeah, the waiting is the fucking hardest when you know it's coming.
Isn't that what Barry says in his Winds sample chapter?
Yeah, sure.
Well,
right before the horn sound for the charge of battle. But Dany can't sleep, so she calls on Whitebeard to tell her of Rhaegar and the many tourneys that he's won.
Yeah. He hasn't won any.
So Barry's like, yeah, no, he didn't really enter the lists. He didn't have a love of swords the way like Jaime Lannister or Robert Baratheon did. Some say he loved his harp more. And Dany's disappointed, and she's like, well, surely he won some tournaments. And Barry brings up the tournament at Storm's End.
Yeah.
When Rhaegar rode brilliantly, defeating a ton of A-listers and breaking 12 lances against Sir Arthur Dayne. And Dany's like, oh, he was champion that day? No, he was unhorsed by an extremely handsome, awesome Knight of the Kingsguard. Like, one of the coolest knights that there is in the Kingsguard.
The best of the best knights of the Kingsguard.
Fucking chump. And Dany's like, bitch, which one did he win? I asked you one fucking question, and you've gone through 3 other examples of things that aren't, and one of which is fucking tooting your own horn, you fucking chump.
The only reason he was skirting around it is because Rhaegar only ever really won one tournament for the most part.
Right.
And it's the one where it set off the chain of events that led to all sorts of nonsense.
All right. One,
and so he was trying not to bring up bad moments.
No. Because Barristan has a fucking hard-on for this memory. Because when she says, which one did he fucking win, bitch? I asked you a question. Fucking chump-ass Barristan finally answers, he won the greatest tourney of them all, Your Grace. And of course he thinks it's the greatest tourney of them all because Barristan finally got to fucking dance with Ashara Dane at this fucking goddamn tournament. So, fuck Barristan and his biased-ass storytelling here, because this is some fucking chump-ass shit.
You need to step off, first of all.
Chump-ass shit.
Barristan the Bold. It's nothing.
Bring Belwas in here to tell a fucking story or two.
Oh my god.
Barristan sucks.
You need to back the fuck up off Barristan the Bold before you just get
Barristan needs to stop putting his old man dick into shit. Like, Jesus Christ, and tell her a story about her brother. That she asked for. But Dany's like, anyway, that's when he crowned the Stark woman, right? In front of Elia, and then later stole Lyanna from her betrothed. And she asks, how could he do that? Did the Dornish woman treat him so ill?
Your brother's a piece of shit.
And Barristan's like, I don't know. Like, Elia was pretty chill, so, like, it's not to me to say. And then Dany reveals another fucking just horrible thing Viserys used to do, which was tell her that if she was born sooner, Rhaegar would have married her and been happy and nothing would have happened. And Dany actually got fucking beat one time for telling him it was his fault because he wasn't born a girl, which A plus fucking comeback, Dany. And Barry's like, I don't know if Rhaegar was really
Would've been
capable
happy.
of happiness, because he always had this sense of doom over him. He was born in grief.
He was born in grief.
Summerhall.
At literally and the shadow hung over him for all his days.
He would often go
Gorged
there.
on grief!
He would often go there alone, not even Kingsguard to attend him, sleep under the stars, and when he would return with a song. And that's when the dragons perk up.
A song.
The song, and then Dany starts to ask another question, but yeah, the dragons then pick up, alerting them of activity.
Songs, grief.
Yeah, my grief. Like, fucking fuckberry. Get out of here, Barristan.
Robert Baratheon sing songs also.
Ha ha ha
Trash
ha ha.
songs.
Yeah, right.
Bawdy fucking show tunes.
Yeah.
Drinking songs.
Robert.
But then the dragons announce that something's fucking going on.
Perv comes in, splattered with blood, but otherwise no worse for the wearer, and he brings her victory. All went as planned. There were only 12 losses on their side. Many of the slaves threw down their weapons, and only then did Dany allow herself to smile when she heard her side only suffered 12 losses.
Right.
Grasden had went to Yunkai to deliver the message. Marrow fled, but is being hunted, and Jorah thinks he'll be caught soon enough. And then the next day, they arrived at Marine, or at Yunkai.
They post up.
And literally, Dany's like, yo, it's Astapor Part 2. Like, it's the same fucking thing.
Set up camp.
Which, like, all right, Dany, chill. So, yeah, they set up camp and wait. And on the morning of day 3, the gates open, and a line of slaves begin to emerge. And so Dany rides her silver out to meet them. And they begin to shout, Misa, Misa.
Yeah.
And Sir Perv is like, we should go. As the chant
like,
starts to grow and swell.
I saw this in the House of the Undying. It's cool. I've got this. And she just fucking rides.
And, of course, they are all reaching for her, trying to touch her. They're shouting out in many different
White
languages.
Savior. White Savior.
Yeah. But she strides through them as they are all touching, calling Misa, Misa. And her heart is soaring, open.
Lovely.
And while, yes, it's a great, wonderful moment for Dany, it is super fucking whitewashed. And, like, I don't want to be that guy, because, like, I'm white, you know? Like, so it's...
What?
It's, yeah, I know. But George even made the point to, like, note that one of the slaves was, like, a brown-skinned man. And it was just... It felt, like, this read especially felt just very white savior to me. And, like, ugh. Yeah, I like the moment for Dany. I get it. I get that she wants to be a mother to these people and protect them. But, yeah, the sort of whitewashing of it is a little
cringy.
Yeah, a little cringy. But great chapter for Dany. A great win because, again, all of the stupid men in her life. And finally she's getting one in Daario that she chooses.
And shuts down Jorah.
Yeah, fuck Jorah, fuck Barry. And so we'll convene our small council and get some inductees.
Yeah. And yet Summerhall was the place the prince loved best. He would go there from time to time, with only his harp for company. Even the knights of the Kingsguard did not attend him there. He liked to sleep in the ruined hall, beneath the moon and stars, and whenever he came back he would bring a song. When you heard him play his high harp with the silver strings, and sing of twilights and tears and the death of kings, you could not but feel that he was singing of himself and those he loved.
Summerhall,
Gorge on grief! And Arya comes in and just murders everyone.
I mean, the series is literally a Song of Ice and Fire. Like, it's songs, song. It's a song. You got an inductee for this, Dany?
Yeah, Drogon.
Drogon.
Because he's a little baby dragon that gets to play and just flip-a-flop around like a little baby cat.
Yeah.
And I want a baby dragon just rolling around and just snapping and yipping. Because I like that she points out that thing that every fucking pet owner ever... Oh, yeah, he bites, but, like, it never hurts or anything. We just, like, it's fine, like, as you're bleeding from the arm. No, it's great when I play with my pet. Just, you probably shouldn't, because you might file a suit or something. I don't know, but Drogon.
Plus, he lights the shit out of Prindle. The
PRNDL. Fuck Prindle. Wasn't it Viserion that she was playing with, though?
I don't know, was it?
I think it was Viserion she was playing with, so maybe I should just go with all three dragons.
I thought it was Drogon because of his tail, like, being super long.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Yeah,
I'm
Drogon
not
looped
crazy.
his neck around to nip at her hand. His teeth were very sharp, but he never broke her
See?
skin.
Told you. I told you.
So Drogon, cool. Yeah, mine is going to Belwas for offering to cut out his ugly tongue and give it to the little queen.
Whoa.
Because Belwas is the only one who, even in him calling her little queen, like, I don't see it as, like, patronizing, or I think that's just sort of his...
He's almost like Drax, where he speaks literally.
Right,
She's little, and she's his queen.
He's a big, kind of, like, bulking figure, and she's this little petite girl, so he calls her little queen, but it's out of respect, and the guy was insulting him. So, like, Belwas, because he's one of her advisors, the only advisor in this chapter who wasn't fucking annoying and acting like a goddamn chump.
Barry wasn't.
Barristan was acting like a chump.
Barry's just looking out for her best.
Oh, you want to hear the one about Storm's End where I won? Or what about the greatest tourney ever where I got to touch Ashara's boob?
Wait, whoa, he didn't grope her.
Yes,
dude.
he fucking did.
Wow.
He's a perv. Jorah's a perv.
Enough from you. Let's hear from Amanda. We've got an inductee from Amanda. Thank you for writing in, as always, Amanda. Her inductee for Dany 4 is Dario, the first one cast, she says. I don't like either of them cast. I don't like either of the fucking cast ones. I like the book one. I gotta give him props for his swagger, and the first actor cast in the show, in her opinion, completely embodied that persona and sold it even on other roles he has been in, like Alita Battle Angel. All she sees is Dario. A note from this chapter, the end of this chapter used to fill her with joy to see Dany being raised to an almost godlike figure. But now all she can think is, no one man or woman should have all that power. And what will she do when it all falls down? Yep, she's been listening to Kanye. Also, real quick, she was late for John 5. It's all right.
Yeah.
We'll forgive you this time.
This time.
I'm going to induct Zeus, or the old gods, basically, whoever sent that lightning bolt in the perfect time to stop Jon from revealing the causeway to Ygritte, ultimately probably saving Bran and company.
Truth.
Tight. Thank you so much for writing in, Amanda. As always, great inductees for both chapters.
We also have an inductee from Kristen, and Kristen also just wanted to ask our take of the song, because of Rhaegar's song, because she is kind of getting the impression that there's more to this guy than just he's a psycho narcissist that thought he was the chosen one and kidnapped a lady to get the sun third for the prophecy.
Do you think Rhaegar wrote Jenny's song?
I do. Yes. I don't. She thinks there's something fishy about his music, but can't think of anything hella tinfoily. So she's curious if we have any thoughts or reads on the situation.
Rhaegar.
His songs from Summerhall, I very much so would believe are the important ones to pay attention to. Those are. And Barristan even notes here that, like, he's singing about his loved ones and everything. Like, that's where a majority of Rhaegar's family died, and Targaryens, the blood, the dragon eggs, all that occurred at Summerhall. Maybe there's some lingering magic there that he's tapping into. So I do think, as Nate just said, that he wrote Jenny's song, the saddest song in Westeros at this time. But I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting one, because obviously A Song of Ice and Fire. It's songs in the title, so it's
the bear and the maiden fair.
Shut the fuck up, Nate.
Whoa.
Something to pay attention to. But
That's a
anyway,
good one too. It's a banger.
she's inducting Dany herself this chapter for keeping her cool while that disgusting bastard of the Titan throws nasty sex joke after nasty sex joke in her direction. I would have had Jorah or Belwas and or Drogon kill him immediately, but her quips in return were even better. Fuck yes. Dany,
yes.
Yeah, Dany, 1, A, is way calmer than I would ever have been in that situation. And 2, B,
C,
D.
All right, give me your shit.
She throws it right back, like, to all of them, to every single one of these insulting douchebags that comes in. She throws it right back in their face.
Which is her second chapter back-to-back, where she's just completely outwitted every man.
Oh, yeah.
available.
Dany is MVP in Storm. Like, without a doubt, she fucking, like...
Does she have one chapter left?
Dany, that's a good call. Thank you,
Kristen.
Amanda and Kristen, for writing in. Yes, as always, we appreciate hearing from you guys, from all of you guys. Dany has 2 more chapters after this one. And so, yeah.
Well, if you would like to get an inductee for one of those, or for what's next is Arya, so that one was already recorded. That's going live. That'll be going out the same week as this one, probably.
Guys, there's a guest on that one.
And that's Chloe from My Girls Gone Canon.
Shit.
To read some Arya 8 with us, to go a little fucking crazy, maybe get a little drinking on, a little fucking... It was a good time. It was a fucking great time. So, Patreon episode listeners have already gotten that. So, you can email us your inductees at withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. You can check out the Patreon and get early access. Well, no more early access to that because it's coming out pretty much the same time this one is almost. But you can get your Dunk and Egg chapters, your sample chapters from the Winds of Winter, and all sorts of other cool shit. Facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Spotify, I don't think you can rate and review, but you can listen to us there like a lot of you do, which is fucking awesome. Thank you so much for listening there. We have our friends out, all over the world that are listening and writing in. Join them. Join us. Send in your stuff.
Gobble.
And write us reviews. We like reviews. We love your reviews. You got anything else to add there, Goon?
Nope, I think that's it.
Good. Fuck you. Bella de Harris!